I drove the MX-5 automatic to answer one question. Is it ruined? Because when you choose the automatic, Mazda doesn't just delete the clutch pedal, they delete the limited slip diff, the Bilsteins, the strut brace, and a couple of other pieces. Today, I'm going to show you if what's left is still a sports car. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and this is the Driver's Cut, Decisions for Drivers. If you haven't watched the comprehensive review of this MX-5 automatic, well, the link is here and in the description below. And yes, Mazda deleted all the fun bits from the MX-5 with this automatic, and here's why it matters. 5 things disappear when you choose the automatic. Limited slip differential, Bilstein damper, strut tower brace, DSC Track Mode, induction sound enhancer. You're not getting cheaper components, you're getting different ones. Softer dampers replace the Bilstein, an open diff replaces the mechanical limited slip diff, and the strut brace just disappears. And before you assume Mazda's just being cheap, consider the pricing. In Canada, the automatic costs the same as the manual. In the US, it's $920 more. You're paying basically the same money and getting fewer chassis components. That's deliberate product segmentation with the subtlety of a restraining order. Mazda's basically telling you which MX-5 you deserve based on pedal count. So what does each component deletion actually mean? The limited slip diff transfers torque to the wheel with grip. Remove it, and with the open diff, mid-corner throttle inputs result in that inside rear spinning uselessly. The Bilstein dampers keep the chassis buttoned down through any kind of cornering. Remove them, and all body and wheel movement just gets a little softer. The strut tower brace reduces flex under lateral load, and that's gone. DSC Track Mode lets you explore limits with a little bit of a safety net. Remove it, and you get standard stability and traction control that intervenes earlier. The induction sound enhancer amplifies intake noise. Remove it, and the engine sounds muted. Mazda's created 2 distinct products. There's the sport spec for drivers who want the sharpest tool, and then the daily driver spec for drivers who want the easiest tool. And they've made sure that you can't option your way back into a performance specification. It's product segmentation through component deletion, and it's working exactly as intended. Subscribers get notified when new episodes drop on this channel. Non-subscribers hope the algorithm will show it to them eventually. If you want to control when you see new episodes from this channel, well, that's what the subscribe button does. How this MX-5 automatic drives? Well, let's start with the automatic. It is a traditional automatic transmission with the torque converter. This is not a dual clutch. That means shifts prioritize smoothness over urgency. When you're cruising, shifts are seamless. When you want power, remember there's a torque converter here, and it results in a little bit of a delay between throttle input and forward motion. You're asking for permission rather than demanding response. That sport mode changes shift points, but doesn't alter the fundamental character. It's like adding racing stripes to a minivan. The minivan knows what it is. You know what it is, and it's otherwise just making everyone else uncomfortable. The shift paddles on the back of the steering wheel work correctly, as does the manual mode for this shifter. Feels more mechanical. Push forward to downshift, pull back to upshift. That's the proper setup for drivers when they want engagement. Now about that suspension, this is where one of the biggest differences are between this automatic and the manual. The manual cars get those Bilstein dampers. This gets a standard specification of damper that results in a much softer, more compliant ride. Body roll is noticeable, and the car leans into corners quite happily before the suspension responds. That lean is progressive, and it still communicates what's going on, but there's more motion before the dampers take everything under control. Over broken pavement, this is brilliant. Impacts get absorbed instead of transmitted to your spine. When you're linking corners or anytime you're really loading up the chassis, you lose a little bit of that direct feel from those contact patches. The missing limited slip diff means you can't steer with the throttle, accelerate mid-corner, and the inside rear spins while the outside does nothing. If you use it, stability control breaks the spinning wheel to mimic a limited slip diff, but there's a delay. It waits for slip, then reacts. The manual's mechanical limited slip diff is preemptive. On back roads, the automatic feels managed while the manual feels playful. The manual says, let's find the limit together. The automatic says, the limit can find us if that's important, which is fair. The limit knows
knows where you live.
Steering is just as brilliant here as it is in any other MX-5.
The good thing is, through the steering wheel, you feel load building, weight transferring, grip approaching limits.
The brakes are the standard spec, and yes, you can get Brembos on a manual MX-5. They're not really necessary. I definitely enjoy them for more precise control, but these brakes are absolutely fantastic.
For street driving, everything works without drama, which is exactly the competence level you're buying with this transmission choice.
As for the infotainment system, it's fairly straightforward, but I use it on wireless Apple CarPlay. You're meant to manipulate the infotainment system with this controller here, which is very on brand for a company that is still selling cars with naturally aspirated engines. If you want to support the channel beyond just watching while the merch store is open, that means more time for us to produce cool episodes like this, and literally cool because it's winter, and less time worrying about manufacturer blacklists. No pressure, just an option. Here's the reliability paradox. The automatic transmission, it's bulletproof. Owners with high mileage on their MX-5 automatics are reporting 0 transmission failures.
Meanwhile, manual transmission owners across all 3 and D generations are documenting third-gear synchro failures. If long-term reliability is your priority, the automatic's track record is exceptional.
Now the quirks. Owners do complain about that low-speed second to first gear downshift. Hasn't really caused me any difficulty. I haven't even noticed it in this car, and this one is relatively new. It has about 2,000 miles on it.
Yes, owners describe it as jerky enough to jostle passengers, worse when it's cold, and it's not a defect. It's consistent across every automatic ND, but it's noticeable compared to the smoothness of every other shift.
Oh, and get this, there is one expensive $7,700 mistake you could make.
One owner used liquimoly fluid that technically met the spec, then the transmission developed a shudder, and Mazda denied the warranty claim, then quoted $7,700 for a transmission replacement. That's expensive lesson territory.
This isn't the occasion to prove that you know better than the engineers who developed this transmission. You don't, neither do I. Use the correct fluid.
Here's an American spec quirk. The automatic gets Mazda radar cruise control, the manual doesn't. Canadians get it on both transmissions. Apparently, Mazda USA believes American manual buyers are too busy heel and towing to worry about the adaptive cruise. Canada is more realistic about traffic. The system handles stop-and-go traffic, which is why you bought the automatic anyway. Sport mode lets you pretend you're not stuck in traffic, while the adaptive cruise does the work.
Last thing, if the alignment doesn't feel right to you and it wanders a little bit, well, make sure to get it checked. And it's a simple, easy, cost-effective fix. Now, if you own one of these or have a lot of quality seat time in one of these, let me know in the comments what I got wrong, maybe what I got right, because owner intel, owner experience is much more valuable than anything I can glean in a week-long press loan, and I always read those comments. If you're buying this with the automatic, you've already come to terms with Mazda's product segmentation philosophy.
The sport components aren't even optional. No limited slip, no Bilsteins, no DSC Track Mode. Your configuration worksheet is exactly one meaningful question: soft top or RF? The GT automatic soft top costs $35,750 US, $42,550 Canadian. The RF costs $3,800 more in the US or $4,200 more in Canada.
Here's how to decide. Choose the RF if you value refinement over MX-5 tradition.
And you want better highway noise isolation and automated convenience over manual simplicity because you're already doubling down on the comfort-focused automatic philosophy. The RF is quieter, more weather-sealed, more sophisticated. It aligns perfectly with what the automatic transmission already represents. At that point, you're buying a very small, very expensive Grand Tour that happens to look like a sports car, which is fine. Own your choices. Some people buy sports cars to drive fast, others buy them to arrive comfortably. The RF lets you do the second one while looking like you're meant to do the first.
Choose the soft top if you want that classic roadster experience, less weight and less complexity.
and you're choosing the automatic for practical reasons but still want traditional MX-5 character. The soft top is lighter by about 100 pounds, manually operated, and there are no motors to eventually fail.
Neither is wrong. I prefer the Roadster, but I acknowledge they serve two very different purposes.
But be honest about which version aligns with why you're buying the automatic. If traffic and commuting are driving the decision, the RF makes sense. If you want weekend backroad drives with accessibility benefits during the week, soft top works. What you can't do is option back the sport components. Mazda's drawn the line. Automatic buyers get the comfort spec, manual buyers get the sport spec. The chassis configurations are fixed, the component lists are locked.
Your job is to choose which roof you want to experience with your MX-5 automatic and its predetermined philosophy. The like button tells YouTube to share this episode with more people like you who are interested in the MX-5 and sports cars. And if this episode gave you more information than a press release or a brochure, that's the entire ask. Here's the truth. The manual, it's a sports car. The automatic, it's a grand tourer. If you stop expecting it to be a track weapon and treat it like a baby Mercedes SL, it's brilliant. If you want a canyon carver, you're looking at the wrong transmission. And as long as I can handle 3 pedals, well, this isn't for me, but you knew I was going to say that. You probably knew that before you even clicked on this video, because this episode has been all about confirming biases, mine included. I'm Brian Makse, and this is the Driver's Cut. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't watched the entire full breakdown review episode of this MX-5 automatic, well, the link is here and in the description below, so be sure to do that. If this episode gave you insight into what the MX-5 automatic experience is like, well, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We make content for drivers who value truth over marketing, and more deep dives like this every week.